Welcome back to my channel, right? I'm gonna now be reading you 10 more stories. These are gonna be small children books that are gonna be nice and quick. They're only gonna be like 3-minute stories, and they're both genders, and they are really nice stories. And basically I'm gonna be reading them one by one each episode. So there's gonna be 10 episodes in total, and each episode has one book. And basically, I hope you enjoy. So we're going to start with book number 1, The Frog Princess. One deep morning, Princess Poppy was furious with her father and her mother, saying, "I won't marry Prince Humperdinck. He's smelly and smug and slimier than a frog." But her mother said, "You don't really have to marry him now. You only have to marry him when you grow up." But Poppy didn't want that. She never wanted to marry him. She'd rather eat her toenails. And her father was mad, saying, "Poppy, don't be so rude." All the princesses looked around in shock. She said, "I'll find another prince to marry," running away from her father. And then her father said, "You have until tomorrow morning, but you'll never find a prince in that time." She waited and said, "Just you wait," as she stomped into the garden with her precious golden ball. However, she was so cross and unbalanced with herself that she didn't see the wobbly stone. So she wobbled, and all of a sudden she slipped and fell face first into the pond. Her golden ball plopped into the water. "Help! I'm in big trouble now," wailed Poppy. But then a little frog out of the big pond came up and said, "Oh no, you're not. I can help you." And he said he could save your ball, but in return, he wants to live in the palace, eat from her plate, and sleep in her bed. And she said in her dreams, but she thought in her dreams. So, to be polite, she said, "I promise." As soon as the frog gave Poppy her ball, she raced back to the palace. And the frog was screaming, "Wait for me." But she didn't care, because she arrived just in time for dinner. She had to sadly sit next to Prince Humperdinck. Though she didn't want to, because he smelled like cabbage, she didn't have another choice. Then, to Poppy's horror, she heard a splat, splat, splat. In hopped the frog. And she just wanted him to go away, because she was already having the worst day of her life. And the frog said, "Excuse me? Princess Poppy promised I could stay with her since I saved her ball. But princesses don't break promises," bellowed the king. The king just then allowed the frog to stay. "Thank you," said the frog, diving into Poppy's soup. "Now," said the frog, when he'd slap up all the soup, "it's time for bed." But Poppy shouted, "Oh no, you're not coming anywhere near my bedroom." However, her dad, the king, repeated, "Princesses don't break promises." So Princess Poppy picked up the frog and dropped him in the darkest, most distant corner of her room. But the frog wasn't good with it, and he was upset because she promised he could sleep on her bed. And then he said, if you don't let me, I'll tell your father." Then she snapped, "I've had enough. You're the meanest, most horrible frog I've ever met." And with that, she threw the frog out of the window. Then there was a long silence, followed by a loud splat. "Oh no," thought Poppy. "What have I done?" She rushed outside and picked up the frog as gently as she could. "I'm so sorry," said Poppy, and she bent down and kissed him. There was a loud crash and a deafening bang. In the place of the frog stood a handsome prince. "How can I ever thank you?" asked the prince. "Well," said Poppy, "you could marry me." "Excuse me?" said Prince Humperdinck. "But Poppy is to marry me." "Oh, no, I'm not," said Poppy. "Daddy, you did say if I find my own prince. And kings don't break promises either." "That is true," sighed the king. "In that case," said the prince, "Princess Poppy, will you marry?" "I will," said Princess Poppy. And when she grew up, she did, and they lived happily ever after. That's the story of the Frog Princess.